Okay, so last time we were talking about Star Trek continuity because Lore Reloaded had done this whole thing about the Borg, and it made me think about what it is to worry about continuity in canon. But now I'm going to talk a little bit about Avengers, because I had a problem, many problems, with the latest movie.
And welcome back to the heart of the stories we tell. I'm Rob, the host, and this is another look deep into what makes a story, a theory on storytelling by a storyteller who believes that every story has merit. And tonight's episode is
Continuity Part 2, Endgame. Okay, so just to recap what was going on last time, we talked about Star Trek and how their continuity works, and the fact that Lore Reloaded had a whole thing about how the writers of Voyager had this love hate relationship with continuity, and my personal story about counting photon torpedoes. But at the end of the day, I came to the realization that continuity only matters in as much as you're telling a good story. And before we get anything else messed up, I loved Endgame. It was fun. Fist pumping moments, things that I think were great storytelling points, things that I think were fun. So I guess that's it. It was a fun movie, so nothing to talk about, because that's what I said, right? Yeah, well, for those of you that don't know, I totally think way too much about stories. So yeah, I'm totally going to dig into this and talk more about this. But before we do, of course, I wanted to remind you that I do have a Patreon, and of course, if you can't support me that way, just help me out and click that subscribe button. But alright, psychologically, continuity is all about just one frame of thought continuing. It can be about a theme, or it can be about concept, but at the end of the day, it's just one through line, beginning, middle, and end. And of course, this is very comic booky because at the end of the day, comic books don't have the best history or track record with continuity. But before we get into specifics, I guess I should throw up my spoiler warning. So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. Alright, so at the end of the day, there is a lot going on, and I could complain about bunches of it. There were little things that bugged me, big things that bugged me, and there are things that would be completely unfair for me to throw at this movie, continuity wise. 22 movies in, there's lots of different writers, lots of different themes. The stories just fall apart if you try to hold them together too much. And there's also the fact that there were things that were supposed to be connected way back when that I guess weren't as connected as we would have hoped. And there are things that kind of just fell by the wayside. Kind of things that could have been done better. And I have problems with some of the storytelling elements, but none of that is fair in a continuity video. So for a continuity video, here's what I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at standalone, just Endgame, and combining Infinity War and Endgame. Before I do, though, I'm going to give one caveat, and that is the addition of the movies that have the gems in them. And there's a good reason for this. Those gems are the overall story that we were told was ending here. But not every bit of those movies, just specifically gem lore, stone lore, the Infinity Saga. Alright. So, we are explained relatively early on how their time travel rules work. And let me be the first to say, time travel doesn't exist in the real world, so when you make up your rules for time travel, you can make up whatever damn rules you want. If you say that the clock's always running in San Dimas, the clock's always running in San Dimas. Doesn't make much sense, but hey, it makes for a fun movie. Okay. So the time rules that they state is that if you travel back to a point in time previous to where you are now, you don't just change the future. You create an alternate timeline. And in doing so, that saves us a lot of trouble. It means that there is no way to just retroactively change things. And if that's the case, then I have a few questions that will mostly start with the fact that how come every single branching one still seemed to combine at the end? Because, I mean, really, what happened? How did Captain America get there at the end? But okay, so they didn't follow their own rules on time travel, and that's a little annoying. But it was mostly done for shock value. Somewhere, Kevin Feige had this idea that old man Captain America would be cool, and if, oh, look, we'll just look over there, and there he is. The story could have worked if they had just done it through one more pass through an editor. If they remembered the fact that Captain America has to reappear on that time platform because he needed to use Pym particles to get back to this time frame. And then we could have a whole alternate world where things could have been very different. Maybe in that one, Hulk actually fought in Wakanda. Okay, all joking aside, in my version of that, it would literally have been two Captain Americas, Thor recruited from Asgard early, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, and Wasp, all doing their own thing and becoming the Mighty Avengers in like the 70s and 80s. And I think that would have been pretty cool. And then by the time Thanos came in that world, they were pretty much ready for him. And then some, because, Cap had the advantage. And again, that was all an alternate timeline. And then when he was done and lived his life, he just poofs back. But instead of appearing randomly as if he's always been there, he appears on the time platform. But okay, hold on. I'm going to come back to these guys in a minute. First, I want to talk about Pym particles. And the fact that sometimes, not just for a cool scene, but for a stupid joke, they sold out their own story. Alright, so bathos is one of those things that breaks up the flow of a story, when comedy and tragedy merge. So when done well, it works right great. When it doesn't work so well, we have several examples of the MCU. But in this, we have Ant-Man. Oh, we have exactly enough Pym particles for us to go back in time and come back, plus 2 test runs. And then, oops, I used one of those particles to shrink, because I don't know how my only power works. Tee-hee-hee. Isn't that funny? I know what you're thinking. I'm going back on my own rules now, my own continuity, because I said I wouldn't pick on things I didn't like. So even though I didn't like the joke, that's not what I'm picking on. In the same exact movie, we have Ant-Man later shrinking in the past multiple times. Think about this. They broke their own rule of they only have so many Pym particles, so they could tell the joke when they still needed him to shrink later on. Why'd they do it? Because ha ha ha, they needed the joke. And finally, the biggest problem I had continuity-wise. The gems. Alright, here's what we know. If you don't have them in an artifact, you can't wield them. The artifact like the Tesseract or something like that is what protects you. Quill and the Guardians were able to work together and use the Power Stone to defeat Ronan once, but realistically, you need something to channel it through. That's why you need the Gauntlet, that's why you need everything. And in the end of this movie, we have this knockdown, drag-out fight that felt more than a little anticlimactic to me for other reasons. But basically, they're fighting past Thanos, and they're fighting for the Gauntlet that they've assembled and have. He wants it, they want to stop him from getting it. Okay. So they sit there and they say, well, that's okay, even though he destroyed our base, we still have a time machine. Because ha ha ha, the van. They have the time gem. They have the time gem. They have the time gem and Doctor Strange. Even if you say you need someone that's trained in how to use the gem in order to use it, they have Doctor Strange and they have the time gem. They win, period. Notwithstanding the fact that each individual gem has its own power, they can teleport using the Tesseract. Doctor Strange can already teleport using the sling rings. They're basically playing keep away with the most powerful artifact in the universe and no one thinks to use it. Or to again, take the time gem out, give it to Doctor Strange and be like, hey, here, Strange, stop time for us. And now the time gem in and of itself is already a problem with this movie. Once you have the time gem, how hard is time travel? I know what you're going to say. Maybe the time stone in this reality doesn't allow you to time travel. Okay, that's their rule. I'm going to accept it. But it seems weird. The time stone itself not able to help anything. Now, going even worse with this is the absolute end. I am Iron Man. Badass moment, right? Great comeback. Why do you have to snap? Why do you have to use all the gems? Once he's got the gauntlet on, once he's using the gauntlet, why couldn't he just use, say, the power gem to kill all of them? Or the space gem to just teleport them all away? Or again, just time stop? Or any of a dozen other things? Why did he need to use the combined power of the entire gauntlet? 22 movies setting up how badass everyone is. And then when they're all together, even there at the end, nothing. No, they have to rely on cosmos-shattering altering reality at its most fundamental level so that Iron Man can get a cool death. Well, this is where I'm coming full circle. Remember 2 weeks ago I said during the Star Trek thing that all of this is part of writing a good story. And as much as I have problems with Endgame, the MCU in general was a good story. And I think you think so too, or at least most of you do. Let me know down below. Do you think that what was said last time about you have to let continuity go in order to serve as having a good story, versus what I said about sometimes you need to mix and match, where did Endgame fall? And in 2 weeks, we're going to talk back about continuity, and hopefully I'll get more than just one comment this time, because I want to address what you guys think. But for now, I need to ask you to do all the things that YouTubers always ask you to do, like and share. And of course, I'm going to give a big shout out to my Patreons. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button, because questions like this are something that really get to the heart of all the stories we tell. And as we do, I think you and I can take a walk through what it means to be a storyteller and what it means to have a story told to you. For now, I hope you have a good night, and thanks for joining me.